Hi, I'm Archbishop Matthew RAWCLIFFE. Please join me and some great guests as we take a journey where I will spread positive and enlightened messages to educate, heal, and help others as we chat about various subjects with the help of God. Tune in every second and fourth Thursdays at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on Paranormal King Radio Network. Hey, welcome to everybody. This is the Demonology Corner. I'm Archbishop Matthew RAWCLIFFE, and I got a guest here with me, Ron Stokes from Stokes Paranormal Investigation Research.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, bud. Thank you.
Yes, it's tonight our first show. We're just gonna touch on, here and there, what the signs and symptoms, somebody that might be possessed. Where to go, who to contact, type of thing. Ron, tell them a little bit about yourself, man. How long you been doing it?
All right. Well, I'm Ron Stokes, Stokes Studio, Stokes Paranormal Investigations Research. I've been an investigator for 20 years now. I started in the paranormal because I was actually born and bred into fire. My grandmother having to deal with paranormal as I was a little kid growing up. I ended up seeing activity in her house. She was talking to spirits constantly, and
Wow.
It gave me an opportunity to know how to talk to them now.
Wow.
And I saw the good and the bad with that. I saw huge divide between everything that was happening. There was several different spirits that would come in, and I would say closer towards the veil when she was getting ready to pass, a lot of bad things started happening.
Wow.
Like one time she ended up getting somebody trying to mess with her while she was taking a bath, and this happened to be late at night, and I ended up getting a phone call from her neighbors at about 3 o'clock in the morning asking me to come down and deal with it. And so I went down there, and whenever I went to the back of the house where I heard her screaming, she was outside swinging a baseball bat and staring at her crawl space, screaming at the top of her lungs, and ready to bam on somebody. And so I had to calm her down. and she swore up and down that somebody was trying to get to her and wanted to attack her. And so I had to go into the crawl space. And that was the first time I heard a Class A EVP. And that Class A EVP was get out. I had to go into the crawl space and tried to get her to calm down by just explaining, hey, I don't see anything, Grandma, it's time to go inside. And so she ended up basically just figuring that she wasn't going to be able to end up having a battle like she wanted. And we went back inside, and all of a sudden all the radios in her house came on whenever we were walking from her back den.
How old were you when this was going on, Ron?
I was about 14 whenever that happened. And
that's a lot to deal with 14.
Yeah. So a lot of those spirits that started going ahead and trying to just take over completely. One was a neighbor of hers that shot himself in the head on his front porch.
Wow.
And basically his name was Andy to everybody in the neighborhood. And she started talking to him as Andy. But also Andrew. So I had to decipher it a little bit and figuring it out. She was constantly concerned with the way that he crossed over, being as traumatic as it was, and wanting to help him out. But at the same time, it was a leech situation. She was constantly worn out and all of her energy depleted. And she wasn't able to just constantly take an opportunity to help him like she wanted to.
Yeah.
It took its toll completely on her.
Oh,
and I think
so.
That left her susceptible to the rest of them. All of a sudden, she wasn't able to walk around the house anymore without getting pushed. And eventually, they started getting the opportunity to throw her down, and she busted herself up pretty bad and ended up in the hospital onto her last day. And
wow.
Skip forward into my 20s, I was attacked by the paranormal. I was staying in a motel room working out of town in Lancaster County. I used to do foundation repair, and I was working at an old folks home trying to lift up on it and fix all the brickwork that was settled. It took about a week to do. And we were staying across the street from our motel. There was a restaurant called the Alligator Grill, where if you were able to finish a steak, a baked potato, and a salad within an hour, you got a plaque on the wall with your name on it.
That's awesome. Did you get a plaque?
So, yeah. Here
That's
I was.
Awesome.
I killed off the steak, the baked potato, and the salad within that hour's time. I was timed at 45 minutes.
What's your name? What's the plaque still up there?
The price, the price was about $60 for the whole meal if you could finish it. It was a 32-ounce sirloin.
That's a lot.
It's a lot to deal with. And the buddy that was with me actually ordered it medium rare for the reason of him just wanting to get the blood, I guess. But I knew better, knowing exactly what was going to happen. I figured I needed to get that at least at a medium well. Making sure that thing was cooked enough to chew it. Your jaws start hurting after a while. So he didn't get the chance to finish his, and I did. And we went back to the hotel. I was staying in a room by myself, and I passed out probably about 2.5 hours after I had passed out. I felt the covers coming from chest level over towards my face. It reached past my chin, and whenever it got towards my nose, it wrapped around, and it was smothering me, and it was choking me out. It cut off a lot of circulation around me, around the neck area portion, and it was so tight. And I can remember as I'm opening up my eyes, I'm seeing this huge, shadowy mist figure standing up over me, and it was just as tall as the ceiling in this crappy motel. And I remember I started throwing fists at it, just trying my damnedest to get everything off of me. I'd say by like about 4 or 5 shots to it, all of a sudden I started pushing this thing in front of me. And as it disappeared, I was looking around the room. I saw nobody was there. And I figured I might have been going crazy, you know, just for the time being. I went ahead and I considered that I was just going nuts. So I laid back down and decided to try to go back to sleep. And a couple of minutes later, after I closed my eyes and I was starting to fade back out, I can remember feeling those covers lift back up off my chest and back towards my chin. And I stopped it right there. I threw the covers back off. I said, no, you're not doing this. That's not happening. And I got up and I walked out. So next day, after no sleep whatsoever, I'm talking about this with a buddy that I work with. And we're over at a gas station right before getting to the job. I'm trying to sort it all out in my head, you know, and I'm going over it with an instant replay, trying to figure out if there was something that I missed as a regular reality instead of just some crazy mess that's stuck in my head. And I'm going through this scenario and I'm talking with my buddy in line, and the clerk is listening to us. And whenever we get up to the register paying for things, he looks at me and he's like, hey man, I heard what you said, man. You might want to know somebody died in that room about a month and a half ago. And I said, well, you know, that go figure, right? Go figure.
Yeah.
So skip forward to the end of that day. My boss man wanted to bum rush out of there after getting all the work done. He wanted to go home. And I hadn't said anything to him about this. And I was just like, yeah, go ahead, go and get my stuff. Now, my boss was 6'7", and he's well past the 240 mark. He's 240 plus. And I knew that his lurch butt would still, you know, pretty much get in some area like that and mess with the energies in the room enough to where they wouldn't be wanting to mess around that quick. And so he went up in there and he was grabbing up our stuff while I was working on the job. And he came back with this O face, this big old O face, like, whoa, whoa. And I said, why you got that O face, man? What you doing over there? And he was staring. He was like, did you attack somebody last night? I said, no, man, of course not. He thought that he was doing me a solid by grabbing up some kind of a weapon that the cleaning lady had found in between the mattresses that I was sleeping on. It was a dried up, bloody rock in the sock. Now, for anybody that went ghetto one day, a dried up, bloody rock in the sock is what you do on your worst day when you don't have anything else to defend yourself, right? Sure. So, basically, on that ride home, taking a look at everything in the back of the work truck, we ended up cutting this thing open, and yes, it was dried up, bloody, rock in the sock. It was a couple of rocks sitting up in there, and it had a whole bunch of electric tape wrapped around it and sealed. That's not good.
You already got rid of that.
I'm just glad my boss at least was looking out for me, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants a boss that looks out for you like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I got lucky there. But yeah, you know, we'll leave the light on for you. So
wow.
All of a sudden, I'd found out that staying up in, you know, this crappy motel room, it was just a pink shed looking motel. All you saw on the front wall of this place from the main street was like 6 doors and a window for the clerk. And that's it. That's all you got for that. And it was really beat up and run down. There ain't no way in hell it still even exists. And I guarantee if I was to try to look it up, it wouldn't be around.
Wow.
And After dealing with that experience, and knowing what I knew from my family raising me in it, she had trained me up. My grandmother was a beautiful Christian woman. She raised me Episcopalian, and my father, and he was adopted from her sister, who was mentally ill, had all kinds of issues, and she was taking care of his kids. So she raised us up in this Episcopal church, St. Timothy's Episcopal Church, downtown Columbia, right beside the governor's mansion. And so I got the opportunity to carry the cross. I was an acolyte. I was serving communion, and my father was reading sermons, and I grew up in that atmosphere where you rely on the cross when you need to.
Oh yeah.
And you better know right there that if you don't and you try to deny, then you're gonna just make sure that you're screwing yourself up in the process. So that's what I did through all of this. I just relied
on religion as well as what you've
just
learned.
No, this is what he wanted for me. It's an obvious now, because as I blink and I see myself 20 years after doing investigating, I came across a couple of cases that was pretty heavy, and I was hoping that I could have some help, but it wasn't around. So I started searching to find people, and now I've got a team of 20 people, and I'm glad that you are my demonology department. Running Solomonic of St. Michael's Archangels. I'm giving a quick shout out there. Thank you to everybody in that organization, internationally and the USA. And thank God for you, because there's a lot of ones that out there that will not help. And I ended up searching for the wrong people at first. It took me a minute to be able to see your post online. And when I did, I was like, man, I wish I would have seen your post about a week ago, buddy, because I really needed it. And that's how that worked out, man. That's how that worked out. That's how we got to know each other and talk more, was because I had started that search. I knew that God was going to put me with the people that I needed, and I just had to put all of that in his hands. And he has ran the entire thing since. And I feel happy. I feel blessed. I feel like I'm very proud of it, where it's come to, as far as it's gotten. Being a part of the Warren Foundation with you was very awesome. All of this international help is tremendous whenever you're dealing with things just on a singular level, and all of a sudden you work your way towards being a state level and international level. It's completely different. The big leagues are the big leagues. Everybody needs to know that. Okay, everybody that's just starting out and wanting to be a paranormal investigator, find the people that you need the most. Look for those priorities. And
there's a lot of people out there that are more aimed at trying to make something out of themselves rather than trying to help folks out.
Yeah, the people that I've noticed are willing to turn their head when they're needed the most. Yeah, it's a lot of the times.
Especially if you see somebody out there trying to charge any kind of money. That's definitely, anybody's a real exorcist is not going to charge you for an exorcism or anything like that.
That's right.
It's actually blasphemy to charge for an exorcism.
Exactly, it is. And there's a greed and there's a vanity that's involved with that. And the type of person that does that is not going to be helpful at all. So, until they realize that, there's no helping. And that's just the way that goes. You have to be able to sort that kind of thing out. And that's part of the investigator mode that you have to be in this part of the business. It's not like a regular investigator. You get the opportunity to just go out and get in cases where you might bust a couple people cheating on each other here and there. You get the chance to take photos of that straight up. You get the chance to tap into a phone line and hear their conversations and know where they're meeting up and all that. It's not like that. This field is completely different. When you're a paranormal investigator, you have to put in 110% of the work to get any effort whatsoever involved, any evidence at all, or it just doesn't happen. you're wasting your time, and you have to walk away. You have to know that it's not just going to be a hobby anymore whenever you're coming into the harder cases as well. Like running towards the cases where you're happy you're wearing your brown pants days. You know, you're happy you're wearing your brown pants days can happen in a heartbeat.
Any kind of demonic investigation, you're going to have those days. And if someone says they don't, they're not really doing investigations.
Yeah, they're not in it for real. You know, they're not doing anything except for thrill seeking at that point. And I don't hate anybody for doing that, because it was a huge part of the 20s. You know, all of a sudden that adrenaline rush, you know, or anybody that's just wanting to end up getting that proof to see whether or not they can get that and it's the definitive. They get the opportunities like that and they just run with it. That's very cool. That's fine. That's their life. It's their prerogative. But there's a big difference between being a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator. And when you better be wearing your brown pants when you figure out that moment in your life. That's all I can really say on that. That's all the advice that I have right there. Better be wearing your brown pants when you actually have to make a decision, because when it shows up, it's a split-second decision. You have to know whether or not you're just going to go ahead and say, nope, I'm good. I've got my thrill. I did what I came to do. Now I know, and now I'm going to just leave it alone and live my life as a regular person and not try to go and talk.
People get mad when I say it, but it's not for everybody.
It isn't. It isn't. And some people find out the hard way. Some people get all of that built up in their head, and they go off and they're trying to do EVP sessions. They're talking with spirit boxes. Something comes through talking to them, and then something shows up in the room messing with them, being interactive with communication, and they don't know what to do. They freak out. And I don't blame them. I mean, it takes somebody that's a little bit past being a regular person just to deal with this kind of job. Yeah. You know, and to help another people out their problems after even having to go through their own. You need therapy, brother. And the only therapy that you even get is finding the like-minded team individuals that are willing to go out on these missions because they've dealt with the things that you dealt with. Because they already know, they've already been there. They're not going to look at you like you're nuts. They're not going to try to talk to you like you're crazy the whole time, because they know. Because they've already been there. And there's a complete difference in the people.
Oh, yeah. You can see them straight out. You can tell just by talking to them if they're really in it for the right reasons or not. You can usually tell that just by talking with somebody.
That's right. The people that are in it to win it are the ones that go through that brown pants situation, and they go ahead and buck up. And then they know from there on out what to do, when to do it, to make sure that they do it right every time. No slip-ups.
Oh, yeah.
You learn from experience on this. You know, knowledge is power.
We got a question from King here. Is that do I paranormal investigate, or does a case have to be extreme before I'll get involved? To be honest with you, I do not do any paranormal investigations myself. That's what I got Ron for. And tell you honestly, if demon get to me, you got to deal with them first. I won't get involved unless it's an extreme demonic case, or a case of true demonic infestation or possession. That's just me.
Well, I'll give you my answer for that. Be last on that list as a last resort. The only one sitting back and making sure that you are needed when you're needed. There's a process that you go through that you have to stay going through. And there's a lot of fasting involved. There's a lot of
there is. He's right.
Everything you go through.
It takes me about 3 days to a week to be ready to do an actual exorcism. So he's right. There's a lot of fasting. There's all kinds of stuff that I have to do to prepare myself to do what I got to do during there. And Nicole had a question of what's the first sign. The first sign of possession, Nicole? Is that what you're talking about?
There's plenty of signs.
I got 3 pages of different signs. I mean, it could go from anywhere from a person, isolating themselves, changing their sleep patterns, attitude or behavior, or, aversion to religious objects, a good one. They're breaking religious objects and whatnot. And I mean, there's tons of signs. I mean, but there's some of them I know right here is especially if they have like occult materials all over the place. You know,
I'll put it this way: if there's a few different things that you're feeling in your gut, you need to be able to double check on. You go ahead and you holler at us.
yeah.
Anytime that you need us, you go ahead
And I
and
tell you this, you can get a hold of myself or any one of my exorcists through our website, and that's we kind of put it up there in the chat, but that's www.sosmausa.com. Or I know you can also find Stokes S.P.I.R. Stokes Paranormal Research Investigation or Investigations Research on Facebook.
That's right. Yeah, look for S.P.I.R headquarters. You'll be able to find me on there.
And I know Ken and the Warren Foundation, they also have their websites.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I can't remember the website off the top of my head exactly, but I'm sure Ken will put that in the chat.
Now we should also prepare that anybody that's wanting to go through this, there is a process. You contact us. We need to stay in contact.
There you go.
With you.
Ken just put it up, or King just put it up. It's WarrenFiles.com for the Warren Foundation.
Yeah, don't just ditch us after that first phone call, okay? Please stay in contact with us.
Because if you're not willing to go through the process, I don't care who you contact, they're not going to help you. There's a process you got to go, especially if you're saying you're possessed. You got to go and get pretty much like a one-on-one with I call them the head shrinkers, the psychiatrist, the head shrinker. That you gotta have a psychiatrist, evaluation, and
there's an evaluation through the order. We'll take you through that process on an interview. If you've got Skype, we can do the call there, and we'll have everything ready to go for you to build a case straight from scratch.
And other things you can do to help, just like Ken was saying, Ken said, pray, fast, study, read scripture, saying the big one is saying the rosary and doing any kind of scriptural prayer. It will help a lot.
That's right.
As well as doing confession. Confession is a big one too.
There you go.
And truly confessing your sins to a priest.
Yeah. And all of the conventional things like cleaning your home and keeping all the good vibes in, high fives and good vibes go a long way. If you make sure that everybody in the house has got some good vibes going on. If you feel like arguments are just starting out blindly, then you walk outside, you do it there, and try to create a order for everything after that. You go ahead and you knock out everything outside.
And if you got any kind of occult objects like Ouija boards or anything like that, you want to get those out of your house, and you don't want to burn them. That's the last thing you want to do.
Get the occult away from you. Do not watch paranormal shows. All of this can be begging for you to be able to have communications just from paying attention to it.
And if someone's trying to talk to you, don't talk back to it. Because a lot of times, I hear a child's voice. Well, 90% of the time, it's not a child you're talking to. I guarantee you that.
There's a trick to that trade for them. They always do. 3 knocks at the door, just don't answer.
Don't open the door. That's the last thing you should do is open the door.
You're inviting it in the minute that you're opening up the door.
And anytime you
get a doorbell cam.
Anytime you start a conversation with it, that's actually inviting it in too. That's an invitation to them, and they might not come right away at you. They're gonna wait till you're at your weakest point of your life, and it could be 20 years from now. And remember when you talked to me 20 years ago? Well, here I am.
There's subtleties. There's sickness that's involved, the nauseous, the vomiting. You go in certain situations like that, in certain houses, and that's the way it is. But also there is a process that a paranormal investigator does to taking everything from a normal standpoint first.
You're going to have smells in the house, scratching, knocking, all kinds of growling.
Doing a full investigation, straight from scratch. You'll be able to find out if you're getting a whole bunch of radiation off the EMF, checking all of your wiring. If you've got industrial wiring for a small little house, that can cause you to get the sickness and the nauseous feelings that people have. And as well as all kinds of other normal things that are out there, like mold poisoning. Nobody really goes in their crawl space or their attic. Nobody really knows how much moisture is held in right there. But at 25%
black mold can make you super sick.
Something can cause you some harm. So there's a lot of things that we do to let everybody know about the normal things that are poisoning them in their lives, that are causing them harm. First and foremost, there's a lot of things that goes in towards that, and I always look for the normal things first. Always look for normal before paranormal.
Yep.
Before you do anything on this plane of existence right now, just go ahead and start looking for everything that's on a normal first.
To be honest, when I first started this, I didn't even want to do it. I was appointed to my position. I mean, I was a skeptic at heart, and that's why they appointed me to where I am. And honestly, I was still a skeptic until one day I had something happen that there's no way you could not say it was real.
That's what happened to me. Honestly, I mean, I wasn't expecting to be in this field at all.
Me either.
I mean, I was pushing my music to the max. I've wrote 4 albums. I'm writing books. I've got a kid's book for my kid.
Yeah, well, I had, just like with me, I had a ministry for veteran outreach. I was helping homeless veterans as a priest, and all of a sudden I became an exorcist.
yeah, that's just how it is, man. There's several different things in life, and it just so happens that I got put here for a reason, and that's what I'm rolling with. That's just how I roll. Is I know now more than ever that I guess I'm supposed to be here doing this.
Father Candace said that demons don't confide to our rules in time and space, and he's 100% correct on that. That couldn't be more true than anything. They don't. Yeah. They don't have the same rules that we do. Because you gotta remember, they've never been a living person. A demon has never been alive.
That's right, and it's easier for them to take somebody's energy from them if they young.
Oh, Ken just put, hey Ron, Ken just put it on there. Goes, but it's a demon. I know because Facebook groups and psychics told me. Well, gotta look at where that's coming from. I couldn't tell you how many people I see on Facebook that, I'm an exorcist, or how many people, I'm a psychic. But there's real gifted people out there, but then you got people out there that
those people need help too sometimes, though.
Yeah, some of them are just need psychiatric help themselves, or they're trying to say they have some kind of something to get pretty much just get attention.
Well,
here's a question from Heather. If a person doesn't believe in possession or life after death, will it make them less? Not really. I mean, that can make you more susceptible because they want to prove themselves to you.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care if you believe it or not. It does not matter to them.
They're going to try to do it if they're there trying to do it. That's just how it is. They pick you. They want you. That's what they do. They don't care whether you believe them or not. They want you to straight up distance yourself from that belief system at all, because it actually strives your mind to cause a stress on your life, because you know what's happening to you, but everybody else doesn't. And that'll cause a mental anguish. That'll cause you to separate yourself from the rest of the world. And that's how they want you.
Yep.
They want you separated 100%. From everybody else. And they'll cause inner manifestations, outward manifestations. You know, some people are different than others. You know, it all starts, inner manifestations is something that happens to you in your mind only. You'll be able to see something happen that nobody else around the room can see.
Or here.
Will mess with you mentally. Yeah. Or here, you know, or other things like feeling. You know, there'll be things creepy crawling all up on you, and nobody else can see what the hell it is. You can see a whole bunch of weird fingers, like 9 fingers off of a hand trying to come at you sometimes. It just depends. Every person is going to be different.
Yep.
Every single person.
I've never had one be the same. Every single case I've been to or been involved in, every one of them has been extremely different.
Right, and it takes a lot of training.
And yes, Nicole, demons can visit you in your dreams at night.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's how it all starts.
You're actually more susceptible when you're sleeping than any other time of the day.
In the astral plane, we allow ourselves to be more susceptible because our bodies are farther away from it.
Yep.
Whenever we stretch ourselves into the astral plane, we stretch ourselves farther away from our human bodies.
You're welcome, Heather.
It's very dangerous about any of that. When you're in that world and you're traveling, your body is staying in the same spot. You got to keep that in mind. You better try to make sure to go back towards your body as far as you can, back towards it. Sometimes they try to pull you. You know, sometimes it's like you're hopping in an ocean, and the farther you're swimming out, the more it pulls you out to sea, farther away from the land. And it's hard to get yourself back after you're so far, you know. I've had friends that were passed away that came to visit me, and in our sleep was where they showed up, like 9, 10, 11, about 11 people that she knew and had as really good friends in her life passed away at the age of 20, and she came to visit us in her dreams. And
wow,
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. She said, "Wake me up when you get up." She told me, you know, I wasn't supposed to die. I thought that I was supposed to die in a car wreck back in my 20s, but I didn't. And she told me that I was going to live a lot longer than that. And go figure, I'm 40 now. So there's all kinds of things that can happen to us in our sleep. We're skipping towards a different reality altogether. You know, in an astral plane, you might as well be stepping out third world, fourth world, fifth dimensions. You know, that's where you're going with it. There's all kinds of different things that's up in there too.
Anybody else got any other questions they'd like to answer or anything? Now's the time. If you want any other questions, you're more than welcome to ask them. I mean, we're gonna have this not rolling the show next week. We're gonna have a show too. We might have some guests coming up as well. I know I actually spoke to Nicole about coming on sometime, and she has her show on this radio network as well. And so does Father Ken. He does an awesome show on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, he does. He's awesome.
And
that's my brother. I'm another mother right there.
He's a good guy. Ken's an awesome man. If honestly, I'd say one for Father Ken right now, I don't know where I would be. He keeps a lot of my stress down within the order. He's also my assistant when it comes to being the chief. He's the assistant chief exorcist for USA.
All
right.
Handling.
Well, Ron, have you ever had what's probably the one? Do you ever had cases that freaked you out the most, more than any others?
Yeah, I did, and there is one case that comes to mind whenever people ask me that. I think about it a lot more than anybody even realizes the minute that they're asking that question, because it comes up so quick in my mind. There's a place where you go in Colombia that meets up with a line called the Trail of Tears. It's an ancient Indian problem. That was handled the wrong way hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, wasn't it the U.S. government and the U.S. Army did that?
All I'm needing to say is that Indians ended up dying horrible deaths, and they were very angry and did not let that go, even past their days. And so all of a sudden, there's a Trail of Tears that runs through South Carolina towards the middle from North Carolina. It goes to the middle, and when it meets up with Columbia, it takes an elbow left and shoots back out of the state straight from there. And at that elbow is where I was. And, you know, I'd shown up to a house call to help this lady and her husband. She had said that she was getting scratched, and she had been picked up, levitated, and thrown. She had been taking photos of things in her house and has pictures of different things popping out of her wall at her. She had proof that people had died in her home. Let's
You can
see.
tell Ron lives in Colombia and you got the sirens in the background.
Yeah, emergency vehicles all the time around here.
Hey, we got a really good question from Ken and wanted to know our thoughts on summoning demons for protection. You might think you're summoning them for your protection, but a demon is going to do what it wants for itself. That's really a facade in my eyes. That's not going to help you or help anybody else. They're going to end up hurting you one way or the other.
Don't ever trust a demon. As far as you can see, basically they're going to use you to their advantage for everything that they can. They're going to steal the soul, the life out of your body as far as possible. And they're going to take it places you don't want it to go.
Oh, yeah.
And they can promise you the world. They'll tell you that you have life on a silver platter. The minute that you step and past that threshold, it is on. They will hook you up. And that is when they get you the worst. It could be so far past bull on that.
And Nicole wants to know whether an exorcism may have to happen more than once. Yes, that's not. Just because I do it one night doesn't mean we're totally done. I've had to go back 5 and 6 times before somebody was truly delivered from a demon. And I mean, everybody's different, Nicole. It all depends on the person and the situation at hand.
It's not like the movies and TV. It's not like that. You have to go and show up and put the work in and make sure that you're following up with these people and keeping a constant eye on the situation.
And Heather wants to know, how do they know how to entice us?
Walk away.
Well, Heather, I mean, that's all depends on the person. And really, they know humans. They've been watching us since we've been around, because demons have been on the earth longer than we have. And so they know what we really, and they know what you think. So they're going to know what you want in your head and all that. And they're going to try to make you think that they can provide that when they truly can't.
Very true. Very true.
Anything that they say they're going to do, or, oh, I can help, I can do this, I can make you rich, or that, just got to always remember there's always a catch. And usually the catch to that is your soul, and that's not something that anybody truly wants to ever give up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very true.
And Nicole wants to know, how can we better protect ourselves spiritually? Well, like I said earlier, use holy water, holy oils, salts, blessed salt.
Keep it good in your mind and your spirit. Keep heart,
saying the rosary. Saying the rosary every day. Actually, he says it. They always come out when I was in seminary for the priesthood. They say just the rosary is the scourge of the devil. For some reason, the devil is super afraid of Mary, and Mary is all about the rosary is about Mary and Jesus. So when it comes down to it, you say the rosary every day. It's going to drive the demons and the devil further away from you.
Yeah, and there's actual sound frequencies that drive them away as well. I'm working on technology right now.
She also wants to, if you're not Catholic, can you say the rosary? Yeah, as long as you believe in what you're praying, saying, then you could say it. But if you don't believe in it, you're not doing anything but saying words.
Yeah, you have to have a strong faith in your head, in your mind, and your soul. Mm-hmm. Keep a moral compass about yourself, just go about living your life the way that you really need to.
Yep.
That's the way to do it. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities for them to step in and get you to live your life the way that they want you to.
Yep.
Just do what you can to try not to do that. Just live your life the way that you need to do it. Because they trick you all the time.
Oh yeah, they're going to try to trick you, and they're only going to come at you at your weakest point. That's what you got to remember. They're not going to sit there and come at you when you're strong, okay? Because devils are cowards at heart. Demons, they're cowards, so they're not going to come at anybody that's strong.
Yeah. So know your weaknesses. Know how to turn your weaknesses into strong points in your life, and that'll make you complete 100% farther away from being susceptible to those problems. Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean,
Yep.
that one case like I was talking about, this lady had proof that 3 people had died in her home. They were executed in her home. One man, it was a bad drug deal gone bad. Bad drug deal gone
That's
bad.
bad.
So
That's not
so
good.
so this guy got hemmed up with, I think it was his sister and her kid in this home, and he was executed at the back of the head in
God,
the back bathroom
that's
tub.
not good.
The gunshot was going straight through the tub, and the lady was executed at the back door. The gunshot was going through the window of the back door, and this little kid was executed through a living room wall. You could see the gunshot going through that, and the floors were blood soaked. I mean, sponge. And the smells in there, you could tell that there was ionized blood drained out.
So, in other words, they never really changed the flooring like they should have, and a lot of stuff.
Well, there's a lot of things they should have done, but couldn't.
They weren't
really
done. Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you this: I've been in I've been involved in cases, seeing stuff that you wouldn't think could ever happen. I had a 10-year-old girl when I was in Italy learning through some people, and I was an assistant to an exorcist, and I watched a 10-year-old she was 10 or 11 little girl break leather straps and throw her 200-pound father across the room, and another priest who's 6'4", 230, 240 pounds, and break through a glass window and run down the road.
That's right. And we were talking about this on another podcast.
And she didn't have a scratch on her.
Mm-hmm. We were saying it's not good usually to try to chase after like that either.
No, I know of other exorcists, and I'm not going to say who, but I know other exorcists who earlier in their career had given chase before and had a woman jump off a bridge and commit suicide that way. So, that's the last thing that you want to do is push somebody to the point of suicide.
It's always
not anything any of us want.
It's always case by case basis, I mean, this one lady, she asked me to show up to do a paranormal investigation. I did that for a couple of hours. I got a hell of a lot of answers, way more than I thought I was going to, but it went from a regular investigation to all of a sudden shooting into crazy town. There was so much that all of a sudden happened where I felt I needed to start a cleansing mode. So I started doing my cleansing, and there she was. She started getting channeled by this dark entity. Her head started swiveling. Her eyes rolled back behind her. She started laughing hysterically. It wasn't even her voice. It sounded completely dark, demented. And by the end of everything that we were doing, she started feeling like she was locked in on her couch, like she wasn't able to really move too much. And so she started talking in third person. She's mine. You can't have her.
I remember that one.
Oh yeah, I showed it to you.
Yeah, that was the one. Just listening to the audio of it made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, this is a cursed video, my friends. This is a cursed video. I am not to show this to people because the bad things happen to people that have seen this video. And Archbishop will sit there and tell you exactly what can happen to you watching this video. Something can jump right on out.
You can get an attachment through anything. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Yeah.
I watched it. It felt like I got hit in the chest with a 2x4, and I got instantly sick to my stomach.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other people that had all kinds of other problems from this. So I learned, do not let people see this video. It is a cursed video, and it's because of what was on it. The dog started following something, trying to creep out of the wall directly behind this lady while she was getting channeled. She started talking in third person, and she started saying, "She's mine, you can't give her, I'm going to take her out, and there ain't nothing you can do about it." And all of a sudden she tried to rip her throat out, and her husband tried to restrain her, and she tried to bite his arm off. And it took me about 30 minutes holding holy water to her just to try to get this thing separated. And even now, what I want to have everybody learn from this experience is that you need to do your homework before you're walking into a place. Don't go alone. Go
never ever go alone.
Going to do it. Go protected. I mean, I was sitting there having to hold holy water on this lady, and there's a freaking gun sitting right there by the side of her couch. And I had to think about all these things that could have happened. All these scenarios was popping up. That was a regular scenario, as well as the other crazy scenarios that was actually.
Here we go, Ron. King had asked, have you ever come across any portals?
Yes, and we just closed them off a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was a strange place to even pop up on it. It was a piercing parlor, and this piercing parlor had some problems because, well,
they were naming it too, though. They were doing stuff they shouldn't do. If you have a spirit, you think, and you start naming it and stuff, that's no good that's going to ever come from that. Don't ever name anything.
That plus a cult. There was a Ouija board planchet that was sitting where somebody gets pierced. Right next to
I would never let anybody pierce me or touch me if there's a planchet sitting there. They're out of their mind.
Well, you know, all of a sudden they had they had two portals that we had to close, and we could see on SLS. We can see on SLS as these things are watching us coming over there and shutting this down. They could feel some kind of pain off of it. They said, "Ouch!" and they were trying to get out. You can see these stick figures trying to get out as we're closing them. So yeah, we've dealt with portals, and SLS technology will help you out with that. Sensor lighting systems are set up for a reason. And that is the best modern technology that you can end up having to see things, but you got to be able to know how to use it properly. Okay, you got to know to try to keep it stationary as possible. Try not to move it around too much. And if you are on the move with a portable one using a tablet, do what you can to try to reset everything that's happening on the screen. Sometimes you got to have somebody stand in front of it and do it. There's things that you can do to be able to keep the SLS going properly, and that's just a few of the things to name off. But yeah, the SLS was in correlation, seeing us close the portals down, and we had EVPs coming through as well on Anomalous. It was actually speaking out. And apparently, it did not like that we were closing that off. It was very angry about that.
And Nicole asked, Ouija boards or other means of spirit communication with starting haunting or a possession? It could.
That's one.
I'm not going to say it will every time, but it could. Ouija board is considered an occult object. So really, anything that's going to come through a Ouija board is not going to be what you really think it is.
That's a wider channel. If you want to look at it like this, basically a SB7 would be like trying to use a satellite dish in the middle of a rainstorm. Okay. And basically, when you're using a Ouija board, it's like having a landline locked down in place, and there's whatever it wants to come through can come through. There's a lot of bad things that are sitting on the sides of that channel, ready to come at somebody that they have no preparation for. A lot of the people out there do not know how to even open it and close it correctly when they use it, and it's an occult item. When you're using magic, the only way to fight it off is religion, and it's not good whenever something wants to try to step in from those channels. It's usually a lot more powerful than something else that would step through, say, utilizing Anomalous or SB7, the radio frequencies of the scanner radio systems that are out there as a usual, because specifically those Ouija boards carry some issues, and you got about a 70 to 80% chance of something very bad.
And if you didn't buy it brand new, you have no idea. So you go and got it at a yard sale or something, you have no idea what could have been attached to it in the beginning.
You can write on a piece of paper with a crayon and do the same thing. It's the intent. It's the intent of using one that causes all of the issues. It's not just having a Ouija board. You create one of those. You can draw on a piece of paper. I'm not trying to give nobody no bad ideas, but using a crayon on a piece of paper does the same exact thing. It's the intent behind it.
Yeah, and what Ken just said, I really like what Ken just said. He said you need a spirit of discernment, and that is 100% right. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. To be an exorcist, you have to have that, and every exorcist does. You have to have a good spiritual life, just like what Ken said, and be attuned to the demonic. The first thing we do, like we said, we have to rule out any kind of psychological problems first. And that's because psychological issues will mimic possession as well as vice versa. So if you can't rule those out, it's really dangerous to go ahead and do an exorcism. Say somebody it's in their, a lot of it, we'll say it's not everybody, but a lot of people, it's in their head. They want some kind of attention. And if you push somebody and do an exorcism that is not truly possessed, you can push them further into their you know, and back into their mind, and really could cause somebody to commit suicide that way. And that's the last thing we want anybody to do.
That happens with mental illness as well. You should probably explain to them
Good night,
about
Ken.
all mental illness as well.
Ken just signed off. He left. Ken, he's a great guy. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Well, we got about 5 minutes left, brother Ron. Yeah. And what we didn't say earlier, that Ron is actually starting next week, Ron's going to end up being my co-host.
Yes.
So thank you for that, brother.
Thank you.
So yeah, so you're gonna, it's gonna be fun. Well, you know, we're gonna have a lot of fun, me and Ron, on this, and you know, we're here to help anybody as well. I mean, we're always here. You can all reach out. There's even phone numbers on our website, www.sosmausa.com. There's a phone number on there for our demonic ministry of exorcism.
Yeah,
and you can I answer that phone, or one of my secretaries will answer that phone 24/7.
Can I give a shout real quick?
Go ahead.
To the S.P.I.R team. Thank you, S.P.I.R. Thank you for everything that you do. I love every single one of you. I'll protect you every single day of my life. Thank you, Ross Raposo, for having us on. ParanormalKing.com is awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate you very, very much for giving us this opportunity. Yeah,
and that goes for me as well. Thanks, King. We really appreciate you. And you know, say next week, guys, we're gonna have next. I believe it is next week. We're gonna have another show. So we'll be there at the same time, 10 Eastern.
Very cool. I'm down. Let's do this, brother. Let's rock it out. Yeah, it's fun, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on tonight, Ron. And thank you everybody for tuning in. And
thank you, man. I appreciate every single one of you for listening out there. All the questions were great. I hope we got to all of the answers that we needed for everybody.
Yeah. If anybody has anything else, feel free to reach out to me or Ron. And, you know, we're always here to help anybody.
That's right. That's right. Look for S.P.I.R headquarters. We're out there. And look for the Solomonic Order, St. Michael's Archangels. That website is ready. And look for Warren Foundation.
Warren
Foundation is out there. We can all help. There's a little client intake form that you got to fill out, and it's just because we need so much information to make sure that you're taken care of properly. All right, so do your best to try to fill those out, and we'll maintain proper response. All right, y'all have a great one out there. Y'all stay safe, stay smart, stay vigilant. Stokes out.
Have a good one, guys.
Later.
Hi, I'm Archbishop Matthew RAWCLIFFE. Please join me and some great guests as we take a journey where I will spread positive and enlightened messages to educate, heal, and help others as we chat about various subjects with the help of God. Tune in every second and fourth Thursdays at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on Paranormal King Radio Network.